Hello, friends. A very good evening and a warm welcome to today's Barobadi KK Met Talk show. Today's show is the 1184th show, and today we are here to discuss a very, very important topic on the role of mind on obesity. And we have a very special guest today. Our special guest today is Miss Sheila Dang, and I welcome her on stage.
Hi, sir. Good
A very good
evening.
evening,
Hello,
and thank
people.
And thank you so much for taking out time and joining us. A very brief introduction about Ms. Sheila Dang. She is a clinical psychologist based out of Mumbai. She's founder of the SIP of Therapy and also the Mental Health Care Center in Mumbai. And I think it's really nice to talk about mind and obesity, something which is not very often discussed when we talk of obesity. And thank you so very much for taking out time from your busy schedule and joining us today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for such a warm welcome.
Right. And I think we have less time, and I think I just straight away jump into all, the questions that our audience want to hear. There are a lot of people already greeting you on the chat box, and a very warm welcome to you for this show for the very first time. But maybe just as we get started, we're talking of mind and obesity, and with your huge lot of experience and knowledge in terms of psychology, if I may ask you, does psychology really play a role when people eat or maybe have obesity or maybe overeating? Are there psychological factors which are linked to overeating?
Yes, very, very rightly asked question, sir, because we always, have emotional regulators with emotional regulation with food. Everything that happens is a go through to food. We want food. It just makes us happy. So psychological factors play a very important role in feeling or thinking how we are thinking about the food. Stress हुआ नहीं or we want food. Is there any psychological issue, be it even a breakup or a fight with a family member or a partner? Food is a comfort pleasure that we look for. Maybe a short term pleasure, but that's what it does impact us in a lot, many ways. I think that is the easiest escape, is what I have seen all throughout. It's like a conditional or a conditioned association with food that we have. And psychologically, it also plays a very important role because it just goes on your self esteem, self concept, body dissatisfaction, the way we look or the way we are probably eating. It's just, the way you eat is the way you think and is the way you feel. So psychologically, yes, it plays a very important factor. I think we all need to understand that.
I think a very, very important message here that we're learning today. As Ms. Sheila Dank has told, that probably food is one of the best antidepressants, most easily available. We really don't know. We don't need a prescription. It's just, in the house of everyone. And be it whatever reason of stress, you just go to food for, kind of getting some solace. But I think another important point, which is churning out of this conversation is, and we always think of how psychological problems can lead on to obesity, but can obesity, can body image, can, having the stigma associated with obesity also affect the mental health? Can it be a cycle in that way?
Yes, absolutely, it can be, because we're talking about body image issue, we're talking about self-esteem. All these factors, negative body perception, and all of that plays a very important role, you know. And majorly, what I've seen also in my practice is that loneliness contributes to also eating, contributes to a lot of obesity and food. About, like you said, it's like an antidepressant. Yes, very true, sir, because it's an artificial dopamine that we are going for. It's not something natural, because you get that pleasure seeking for a very less time, and it does influence the way we think, the way how people have seen it over these years. Absolutely, yes.
Right. I think so. Clear point. here again that psychological problems can lead on to excessive eating and obesity also can have an impact on the mental health, and
Yes,
this
it's both
is
correlated factor that we are seeing.
that we need to break. And with this, I see Mr. Ramji Agarwal. He is greeting you on your show and welcoming you to the show. And
Yes.
taking a discussion forward, these days we say everybody is stressed. There's so much stress in life, be it a school child or a college going student or somebody who's working, or even if somebody is not working, everybody seems to have a lot of stress in life. And does stress really impact obesity and weight gain?
Yes, it does, because let's say, for example, after a very long day of work, and once you reach home, what do you look out for? It's something pleasure seeking. So probably food is the easiest option that we can grab. Maybe we'll just enter our home, we'll just open a fridge and we'll just see kya hai, what's there to eat. And then, you want all your favorite things there, or probably you're stuffed some favorite things there, with probably even a bite. You just come home, you put it in your mouth, you feel so relaxed with the entire day's stress. It's like that. And after a stressful day, when we consume all these large amount of food or sweets, or the temporary comfort that I say, contributes to a lot of hormonal changes, stress in our body, cortisol level just goes haywire. It's just all so interconnected, I would say. Also the craving, once we are always having those cravings in our you are thinking about food, so probably even when you're so stressed, you are thinking about food, because that makes you feel good even in your mind. Oh, probably, you know what, I'll just go home and I'll have something, or probably I'll just go out and I'll eat something. So stress can induce cravings and all of these unnatural things that will make you feel pleasurable, and a short-term amount of dopamine, I would say.
Clearly, a lot of hormonal interplay, as you rightly mentioned, and there is definitely a very, very big role of stress. And I think one of the preventive aspects for obesity, जो हम बोल सकते हैं हमारे audience को जो आज सुन रहे हैं, is to target and make sure you address your stress also properly, and that will indirectly or directly also help you make sure that you don't put on a lot of weight. Now these days when we talk of obesity, the market is being flooded with these very new anti-obesity medications. We've been talking about diet, we've been talking about exercise, but being in obesity practice for so many years, I feel that one important therapy for obesity that is grossly underutilized in clinical practice is from your domain of a psychologist, as a part of cognitive behavioral therapy. So, could you enlighten our audience a little bit about what is CBT and how is it helpful for obesity management?
So, when we talk about CBT, which is cognitive behavior therapy, we are talking about identifying our automatic thoughts. And we have 60,000, 50,000 thoughts in a day, right? Are we talking about the thoughts that all 60,000 thoughts in a day could be true? No, right? We could hardly have few thoughts that we can say that yes, this is true. That so CBT just helps you to identify those automatic thoughts, and based on those thoughts, how you're feeling, what your emotions are, because situations could be anything. Situations could be stressful life, stressful environment at work, conflicts with your partner, or maybe an exam stress for that matter, aging, body. We are talking about obesity, so of course, um growing in a different direction of your body shape and everything, it makes you feel very overwhelmed. So CBT just helps you to structure those thoughts. It helps you to kind of break those patterns, um, especially when we have lapses of eating, because we have lapses of, we eat on a frequent intervals. So CBT will just help you to modify your thoughts in a very rational way, in a very logical way. And it's not going to help you okay, I'll just see a temporary thing and it's just going to go. No, CBT will help you structure your thoughts in the long term. It comes with a lot of practice. If you practice that daily in your day to day life, you have to go to a CBT practitioner or a psychologist who can help you with it. It's just going to modify your life on a different dimension altogether. It also helps you monitor what you're eating, how you're thinking about food, especially what you're thinking about food, because our association with food is always emotional.
Absolutely, and so nicely explained. And I think a very clear point that is coming out of this discussion is that there is a full science behind it. You know, how nicely you describe that, there are so many thoughts, and what is the basic principle of CBT, how we identify the right and the wrong. I think that is very, very important, grossly underutilized. And I would strongly recommend all our listeners, as well as even our doctor friends who have joined us today, to please include this very important domain of therapy, which is grossly underutilized when you manage people with obesity. And I think this is also something very, very important when we talk of weight maintenance, because, weight losing is simple. A lot of people lose weight when they come first time, but then to do it long term, I think that is something which is very important. And you said, about recurrent thoughts, the emotional aspect of food. So, what would be your comment about how motivation is very important in long term weight management, and how a psychologist would look into it?
So when we talk about motivation, yes, we always seek out for motivation. I think in every factor, if you have to go to a gym, you want a motivation. I think something that we really need to now change the perspective is looking for consistency rather than motivation. If you are consistent, if you have strict habits, and habits come with discipline, and so would motivation follow. So consistency is the key. We always go to something more. Again, motivation is a pleasurable thing, right? Again, we are going to something which is a short term thing. Okay, we need motivation. So how long can you strive on motivation? I think if there is consistency, if there is discipline, if there is habit, all these factors, then I think motivation is going to be the key factor in handling your food habits, your obesity management, rather than seeking for short term. Because motivation, how long is it going to be there? Motivation is going to be there as long as someone motivates you or you motivate yourself. Maybe today I would motivate myself, okay, you know what, from tomorrow I'm not going to eat something like this, or I'm going to eat healthy. So I'm motivated today, and that's the reason I'm keeping a goal for tomorrow. But am I going to keep the consistency like that? I think it all comes with discipline and consistency.
Absolutely. So, two words that we are saying in terms of motivation for all our listeners who are willing and wanting to make sure they've maintained their lost weight to that same figure. I think motivation, we're talking of discipline. I think that is very important. And the other word is consistency. And that these are the two words, if you remember, I think we are going to be successful in this long term management journey of weight management. But again, I would say that in practice, some one of the biggest hurdles, sometimes people have, especially because obesity has been there for a long time. They've tried a lot of things before they really come to you, and there is often a fear of failure, and
Yes.
especially after many attempts, people are so scared. They will ask, doctor, are you sure this will work? Will I not get the results that I want, because I really want to lose this much weight for this particular reason or that reason. So what would be your advice as a psychologist as to how can we overcome that fear of failure?
So it's what I feel with obesity is that it's very easy then done and said, because the person who is obese, the person who has a emotional association with food, it's very difficult to just tell them in a 30 minutes or a 40-minute session that oh, you can do this, you can do that. It's a very difficult journey. But I think if you really set that goal for yourself, and yes, you are probably going to have an experience of maybe failed attempts in the past, maybe few things didn't work out for you. I think rather than taking that as a failure or a loss of attempts, and then you still, I think that can be taken as a learning experience. Okay, what didn't work for me, what probably will work for me. I think if we take it in that way, it's going to help. Because if we just sit and think, okay, I did it in the past and it didn't work for me, you're probably not going to do it in the present also, right? And we are not going to see any outcome in the future. So whatever is the past experiences, what worked, let's take three things that worked for you, three things that didn't work for you in the past experience, and convert that into an experience with short term goals and long term goals in the present, and go with a very practical approach. That's the reason CBT will help you to do that as well. Mindfulness techniques, being very your association with food, how you look at food as, because food is something that we associate with on every level. So all these attempts, or these are all learning experiences, I would say, that would help you to form a structure for your today's management that will see some output and benefit in your future as well.
I think so positively explained. I mean, so well explained. You've made those failures sound like stepping stones, and really, I think we're getting so many positive vibes, and I think that's something that our audience here is so excited to hear from you, to have you on board, because how you make something which is often a negative point in somebody's mind turn positive, and positive maybe double or triple positive. So nicely explained. I think that's an important message. Don't think of your failures, and think of something which is like a stepping stone towards achieving your goal. Really well point. And again, we have another beautiful compliment in the chat box for you. Such an eye opening session. Understanding the link between mental health and obesity is a total game changer. And thank you for bringing light to this. And a lot of compliments pouring in. But yes, let's continue discussion. And often another important aspect that we often talk in obesity management is importance of sleep. And again, this is something which is driven psychologically. People are often anxious, they're depressed. And so how would you say that does sleep essentially control the psychology of eating?
So sleep is the main major part of conversation or communication that we are having today or discussing today. Because if you have, let's say for example, if you've slept for just 3 hours, 4 hours in a day, you're going to look out for fast food. You're going to look out for something pleasure seeking because you're deprived, sleep deprived. Your body is in a state which is asking for energy. So what do we look for in the energy source? As if we are talking about obesity, we are looking for, again, pleasure seeking. So what is pleasure seeking? Again, in food is all these what you say, snacks and quick food and junk and everything, because that's just going to make you feel fresh and nice in the short term thing, right? Because that's the association we have with food. Also, sleep is going to very largely hamper your hormonal system in the body again. So if you're not going to sleep well, if you're going to again look for a pleasure seeking thing that is in junk food and everything, because you've not slept enough, because your body doesn't have that consumption of energy, it's going to give you signals, hunger signals, and all those unwanted signals that your body doesn't require if the sleep is not adequate. Also, it just doesn't help in decision making power. If you don't sleep, your decision making power also drops down, because you, okay, you know what, let's forget it, I'll just eat today, I've not slept well. All these things hamper increased cravings and high elevations of food, and all of these things just comes from sleep. So a good sleep hygiene is very important, to have a good food hygiene.
Excellent. And I think cannot overemphasize on this. It's such an important point that you brought out about the importance of sleep. And somebody in the chat box just mentions that the body achieves what the mind believes. Weight loss is a physical change, but the journey is entirely mental. Clearly saying that mind is the driver and the engine. And if we have a good pilot like Ms. Sheila Dang, we are definitely going to reach our destination safely. And the car is also there, which is important. So I think the sleep will provide the fuel, the rest that the engine needs to make all the right decisions. It
Right.
is depth. very, very important. There's another comment in the chat box, and Ms. Swapna Jain has talked about a new mnemonic called Lonely, where she is trying to link the mental health with obesity, L for low mood, O for overeating, which she says is emotional eating, and for neurohormonal changes, which are important, E for elevated stress. The cortisol hormone, the stress hormone, is what she's referring to. L for less physical activity, and Y for yielding to weight gain, and how the loneliness causes weight gain. Very beautifully explained. Thank you, Ms. Swapna, for that
Yes.
mnemonic. I'm sure our audience is thoroughly enjoying this session. And before we run short of time, I want to ask a couple of other questions, especially, personally speaking, if I am going to a psychologist and having read a bit of psychiatry in my own training, I would be very, scared, because the psychologist might say, okay, what kind of personality do you have? Are you a neurotic? Are you an anxious person? Are you a depressed person? And there's so many types of personalities, and the psychologists are the best people to, be able to diagnose that. But my question to you, Ms. Sheila, is that are there certain personality traits that predispose to obesity?
So, I'll not get into the personality traits or disorders. When we are talking about obesity and all, I don't want it to come across in a way that, oh, you're mentally not fine. I don't want it to. I understand it's an emotional space to be in when we are talking about food and obesity and weight and all of that. But yes, impulsivity plays a very important role in how the decision you make about food also, just like how we make decisions about, oh, you know what, let's just go out today with friends, or let's just do this, or let's do something very we just take those impulsive decisions in the moment, which you probably may not like or you may regret in the future. So I guess impulsivity just plays a very large role, because sometimes you just like we go in the restaurant and you just want to impulsively order so many things. You're so fascinated with the menu and all of those things, and you just end up eating impulsively. Maybe your stomach is not hungry, but from here you are just impulsively making those decisions and you're eating. Emotionally sensitive people tend to seek food as the escape, or seek food as something that they can go to. Food makes them happy. Food is a happy space. Yes, it is an happy space, and I will not deny that, being a foodie myself. But yes, how we are going to utilize that part in our life, just like other emotional distress, other emotional decisions that we make in our life, whether it's a rational decision or whatever, same like that, the way we make our decision with food just talks a lot about us in general. So yes, it does say a lot about us, especially when we have low tolerance, distress tolerance to kind of eating snacks immediately after feeling frustrated. Like, let's say I'm just irritated, let's just grab a chips, or let's just grab a cold drink, or let's just, you feel good. So the emotional distress tolerance is also not very good there. We are always seeking for rewards. Okay, you know what? I think I need this today. I think, you know what? I had a long week. I worked so hard. So, how about rewarding myself with a big pizza or probably something? So, we always doing those reward seeking pleasure. This all comes from personality. And probably all this is shaping our personality to be even in the future. Maybe that's not who you are actually, but that's how you've become because of foods, because of your relationship with the food. So
Absolutely.
that can be manageable, and I wouldn't take that as a disorder or you personality per se, but yes, it does kind of shape the way you have your association with food.
Absolutely. So I think very clearly mentioned, and I'd like to again reiterate the fact that personality traits are normal. Nobody needs to feel that they have a disorder if they have a particular personality. And yes, it is important to understand that it's not only the personality here, but as very clearly mentioned, it may help. It may be shaping your future personality as well, and therefore it is important again to sometimes look at this angle of obesity care as well. And I think we are running short of time, but then I would still want to ask two more burning questions. And
Yes,
again, there are
yes.
greetings coming in the chat box about this very insightful session. And thank you so much again for throwing light on this very important aspect. I think when you talk of the Indian culture per se, when we go to somebody's house or when we are, as a guest in somebody who's hosting, the Indian culture is that the host should feed or rather overfeed you, because if you say no, then you're not being kind. And it is very important to be able to very tactfully handle the social eating pressures. So how could you give us some tips as to how people can actually manage social eating pressures, especially in India?
I think we come with that culture. I think we come with that conditioning, and especially this happens at our own house. I think our parents, our moms are like that. So, be it anything, how I think the boundary setting is very important. The boundary settings that you can have for yourself. I think saying no is the most difficult part, but I think controlling portions would be fine. And if you really feel that you do not want to consume, you really feel you do not want to have, or you do not want to overgo with your food and the relationship that you are maintaining and the goals that you have for yourself, a no is period. I mean, no, like thank you, or maybe you can just say, a little bit for the sake of the respect. I think that is also fine, but you need to have boundaries with yourself first, and then maintain boundaries with your family. And I think, in an Indian context, we are very used to this thing. And in fact, we wait uh, when we go out to all the festive seasons, when we go to relatives place, and we just wait what are we going to eat there. Probably I would remain hungry the whole day, knowing the fact that I have to go for a wedding or something. I think it's very common. It's very common. But I think controlled portion and just having those strict boundary settings would just be good.
I think that's a very important message. So you take it, but you take little and you keep the respect. You have taken it, you've not said no, but your boundaries are set. I think that if you have in your mind, you can win over this difficult situation, which we all face very often in our day to day life. And I think maybe just the last question before we let Ms. Dang do, but I must really thank you and congratulate you. You've been giving amazing answers, and all our audience is really enjoying your presence. And before I let you go, maybe something about the future. I mean, the psychological domain of obesity is so emerging rapidly, but still we don't know so much about it when we talk in medical practice. So, what do you think is there in the future, or what emerging approaches you think are really promising for management of obesity?
I think there are a couple of things that we can do. The topmost important thing I would want to say before we end today's discussion is have a accountability partner whom you can trust, who is a friend, who is a mentor, who it could be anyone, where you can have an accountability partnership, where you can, say, okay, you know what, I have had this. You can have your own notes in your own phone of keeping a track of what you're eating. It's just mindful based intervention probably that we are going to look at, having an accountability partner, noticing what you're eating, slowing down when we are eating. I think we've heard this all throughout while growing up. Eat slowly, chew your food. I think that is one factor that's called the mindful eating strategy that is going to have. If we're talking psychologically, CBT is one approach. Acceptance commitment therapy is another approach that we are coming up with. Behavior modification is another intervention that can really help. You need to be a little compassionate and have compassion towards yourself and the food. So, compassion focused self acceptance therapy also is going to make a very large impact. Taking assistant behavioral interventions, taking help from all the sources that you can, and not giving up, because giving up is always going to fall back on all the interventions that I've probably clinically said here. It's not going to make any sense, right? So again, not looking for motivation, but consistency is the key. And we can all together take help, take support, have an accountability partner. We all are here, to help. We all are there. You all can reach out to me, or you can reach out to Dr. Kapoor also. I think we all are here to help if in any ways that anyone needs, because it's very important to be there for each other also. So you're on mute.
Right. Thank you for that. And I think you really touched upon the crux of our theme. Our theme for all these sessions is having a barrow buddy. As you said, a buddy who can help you lose weight. And you talked about the partner who's accountable, somebody who you can trust with, who can, be with you through this journey. And that's what is essentially the journey and the theme that we have. And thank you so very much, Ms. Sheila Dang, for an amazing session. Really enjoyed it. I think we have a certificate for you. Maybe have that certificate on screen, please. Right. And
Yay.
thank you for contributing as a distinguished speaker today. And we really wish and have hope that you will agree to join us sometime in the future again. We'll be
Yes.
touching on another topic related to psychology and obesity. But really pleasure having you today. And thank you for
Thank
joining.
you, sir.
Bye bye.
Thank you so much, sir, for having me here. And of course, it's going to be a pleasure always when I'm asked to be on this platform. It's amazing. It's always a learning experience and a reminder for myself too.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.